ready.
We're ready.
Okay, I now call to order the regular council meeting of September 12th, 2022. Time is 7 o'clock. Opening prayer, Derek.
Right. Prayer will remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. Mighty God, send down upon those who hold office in this city a spirit of wisdom and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their office to promote the well-being of all within the community.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Then would you please call the roll?
Member Orr?
Here.
Member Revolt?
Here.
Member Shoya?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member McLeister?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Wyrick is absent, 6 present.
Motion to excuse member Wyrick.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so for your consideration, can I have a motion and a second to approve minutes from August 15th committee, August 22nd, and August 22nd council? We're going to come back to 5B in a minute here.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And David, would you like to make an amendment for
Yes.
the
The minutes from August 15th, 22, City Council meeting, page 49, comments attributed to Mr. McLeister should actually be under my name. So I make a motion that we pass those minutes from August 15th, City Council meeting with that said change.
Second. Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, can I have a motion and a second? Not to request a hearing on the liquor permit application 5811440825 from Meyer Store.
There's the motion.
Yes.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to request, not to request a hearing on the liquor permit application number 581114400800 from Meyer Express?
Second.
Can we have a discussion on that?
Sure.
Motion first.
Is that going to zoning board of appeals? Should we wait until we hear from the zoning board of appeals on this? Because if Acme or whoever is against this would happen to win, then it's all for naught.
If you chose to, we would miss the deadline of September 15th set by the Liquor Control Board to reply to them. So
Right.
That's if it's not going to be there, it's not. So, tables.
Yeah, I think we need to move forward.
So there's a motion. I will
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, recognition of the public. At this time, members of the public wishing to address City Council may do so. Each speaker will be granted 5 minutes. The rules for speaking and the time will appear on the screens. This will serve as the final warning for anyone in attendance. Any violation of the rules of council will result in ejection from the premises. Anyone wishing to speak?
Larry Tripp, 1127 Maple North Canton. Recently, I obtained a copy of the Plain Township News, Fall Edition 2022. Catching my eye was the front page article titled "Salute to Veterans," which I will read as follows. In Plain Township alone, there are over 4,200 veterans. That is over 4,200 brave men and women who accepted the responsibility defend America's freedoms and values. In Stark County alone, there are approximately 30,000 men and women who selfishly sacrificed for our nation to remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. These numbers do not account for the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice and did not return home to their families and loved ones. Please join us November 11th for Plain Township's 8th annual Salute to Veterans. Unfortunately, we have at least 4 members of City Council in North Canton who, in my opinion, show aggressive demeanor, ruthlessly challenging the values shown by those being honored by Plain Township. Any aggression in taking away one of America's core values, freedoms of speech at North Canton meetings, should not be acceptable. Why the constant and continued dialogue in changing public speech when at the last 2 meetings, 8 citizens, 5 men, 3 women, along with 2 councilmen, Orr and Matheny, followed by the mayor, spoke against any rule change. In my opinion, as in the past, North Canton City Council continues to be plagued by poor council leadership. Why could City Council not come up with an absenteeism policy to be placed before voters as recommended by the Charter Review Board? Why, because of absenteeism, does this council have to delay vote on issues the city thought necessary to be passed on an emergency basis? Why does council blatantly break their own rules of council with scare tactic statements, making the public feel uncomfortable and, as council says, unsafe at council meetings? Yesterday, 9/11, another year anniversary of the violent terrorist acts in America. Why does council choose to ignore the dedication and thoughtfulness of the neighborhood banking together to honor those who fell victims of these violent acts? Why not one word of gratification other than those posted on local Facebook websites? Even 2 councilmen who live in Ward 1, nothing from them. Why not a resolution directed to these citizens with a proclamation giving for neighborhood excellence? Take that idea one step further. Dora would be nothing without the excellence of the North Canton Chamber of Commerce. Again, not a word of praise for the fine job on the Main Street Festival, and I'm sure another fine outing in store for their Oktoberfest. Council, please clean up your own act before taking away any of America's core values. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council tonight?
Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Meisner, 604 Hillcrest Avenue, Northwest. Just kind of giving you guys an all update. We got an email this week saying that they are going to start our work on our home on October 3rd. That is the whole entire back wall. I don't recall seeing any of you at my fundraiser that I thought you said you were going to show. And I thought a couple other people said they might come, but my church did have a fundraiser on the 23rd. My girlfriend held for us. So we raised a little bit of the money, definitely not even half, but a little bit's going to help us with our debt. But it just kind of made me wonder what this gentleman here was saying about how it's starting to feel like you guys don't really care about the situations that are past situations. I think it's awesome. I work in the school district. I'm going to be starting a next school next year, one of the newer schools, if I end up staying with the city, which kind of having some doubt about that. Several reasons. But I just kind of ran into an engineer that spoke in here at the first flood on Fifth Street and was talking about some things. I see him almost every other night on my nightly walk with the dogs. And he was like, yeah, still haven't done one thing that I told him to do, and one was just the grate that my pinky can barely fit in. So when water rises, all the grass clippings that they do because they don't mow enough, clogs it instantly. So there's one big problem that is so easy to fix. I know all you guys said you weren't on the board, but you think you would take care of the problems from years ago instead of starting a bunch of new stuff and maybe adding some more problems. I will let you know, and I think you guys should know this, on Fifth Street, they did break ground on some of the piping over there. I don't know if any of you guys saw some big trucks there. And that's what that engineer told me, that they're gonna finally, looks like, fix that problem, which he did tell them about that in 2011 too. So I just got my fingers crossed, hoping maybe my problem will eventually be fixed. That would be really nice to kind of, at least, I mean, if it's not fixed, at least tempted to get a few things fixed. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, we've been having some rain, causes a little anxiety for me. But like I said, when the flood happens again, which it will, since nothing has been done properly, I will be calling each and every one of you to come over and watch it. Because if things don't start taking, if you guys don't start doing something, the act of God is going to happen again. But once again, not any of it's my problem. It's not my fault. It's the city of North Canton's fault. So I am just pleading and begging for you guys to start stepping up and taking care of some major situations. I know I'm not the only flood problem in the city. I obviously know that. But I know I'm in the top 3 of the biggest situation. And it is going to happen again. So please, I am begging you guys, please help us and go out there and start doing at least a little bit to help the situation. That's all I'm asking. And I am a Christian lady, and I want you all to know this too. Instead of trying to get upset about this situation, I have been literally thinking of each and every one of you in my prayers now, and asking God to soften your hearts and to step up and do something. Because honestly, if this happens to me again, I honestly don't know how I can deal with it. So please, let's take care of some of the problems we already have going in North Canton. That's all I'm asking. I'm not going to sit here and hound you guys every town meeting and stuff. I just show up once in a while just so you don't forget my face. Because I have a feeling you aren't forgetting me. I mean, seriously, you guys are. Come on, man. You're my friend, too. So, that's all I'm asking. Please. Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to address council?
Chuck Osborne, 307 Figures Street, Southeast North Canton, Ohio. At Council's August 22nd, 2022 council meeting, Stephanie Waring, Vice President of City Council and Ward 3 council member, was absent. Mrs. Waring has been unable to be physically present 6 times in her current term of office. Mrs. Waring's absence at that meeting is particularly noteworthy, as City Council was already down to 1 member of Council who is away on extended medical leave, leaving only the needed 6 members of Council for passage of 5 ordinances on an emergency. Mrs. Waring's absence left Council with only 5 council members present for the meeting, short of the needed 6 votes for passage of legislation on an emergency. It was clear to me that Mrs. Waring's absence was totally unexpected, and as the meeting progressed, led to Council's violation of Council Rule 41. When emergency legislation is listed on a meeting agenda and there are not the needed 6 votes for passage, someone should have made a motion to amend the legislation, removing the emergency clause, allowing for an up or down vote for a first reading of the legislation. The word postpone is not a choice described in Robert's Rules of Order. Barring any desire to amend the legislation and remove the emergency clause per Robert's Rules of Order, there could have been a motion to table the legislation. Why didn't the council clerk provide guidance in this situation? Better yet, why didn't council's most senior member of council, Darrell Revolt, speak up and assist Council President Stroya? City Administrator Yoder could have spoken up. Yet again, maybe Mr. Yoder was concerned that he would run afoul of council rules that we are now seeing broaden and more onerous. A motion to remove the emergency clause allowing all 5 pieces of legislation a first reading would have provided cover for the absent women and kept the legislation progressing toward passage. Given that council chose to postpone all 5 pieces of legislation at that meeting, resulted in council violating their own rules. Perhaps the entire council body should be ejected from the meeting for violating the rules of council. It was clear that Council Vice President Waring had provided no notice to her council peers that she would not be in attendance at that meeting. That begs the question, why did council vote to excuse Stephanie Waring from the meeting that night? Did anyone ever think that citizens would like to see the public's business conducted in a business-like manner instead of a cozy, you cover for my absence and I will cover for yours manner? Taxpayers do not want to finance a friendship club. A fully functioning legislative body needs all their elected representatives to show up for all meetings to fully represent their constituents as North Canton's city charter intended. If Mrs. Misner had stuck around a little longer, she would realize that if council moves ahead with their council rules, that would be the last time she would be able to speak to this council body about her flooding situation. That's sad. And I agree with her. She obviously realizes guys don't want to deal with it, don't want to discuss publicly. You are elected representatives, not adversaries to the very constituents you're supposed to be representing. But that's all I've seen for quite a while up here. Thank you.
President Troy, may I make a point?
Sure.
Section 14 of Robert's Rules of Order on page 169 is titled postponed to a certain time.
All you guys are gonna have to keep your voice up.
Section 14 of Robert's Rules of Order newly revised, which is on page 169, is titled postponed to a certain time and describes a motion to postpone.
Thank you.
Rita Palmer, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast North Canton. And I would like to speak about your rules of city council that you're reviewing tonight. I have the 3313 ordinance that speaks to many of your rules. And I found out just tonight that you have changed 3313 10 times by ordinance. And that's the way you do it, is you take an ordinance and you take another one and amend or change or repeal, whatever you choose to do. I have that 3313, I compared it to tonight's list of, on your agenda, the many items that you have numbered as rules. There's a major part in 3313 and the rules you're discussing, they match. So you haven't repealed the whole thing, you haven't pitched it out. My concern is that tonight you're saying, we'll just make these rules, I don't know, maybe you'll post them on the wall like school teachers used to do, but I think they should be in ordinance form. 10 times, 10 councils got it right. They used ordinances. And then I heard just before the meeting that the Attorney General's legal opinion number 898 from 1964 says that the rules don't have to be in ordinance form. And so that makes me think, wow, I must be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a legal analyst, but I did look in your charter from 2018, and it says, section 205, that council, and it's all in one paragraph, council shall adopt its own rules, regulations, or bylaws, and shall keep a journal of all its proceedings. The journal shall be open for public inspection at all reasonable times. The voting upon any ordinance or resolution shall be by voice vote, and clerk of council shall record the vote of each council person upon the journal. If you're creating your own rules, regulations, and bylaws, and in that very same paragraph, it says voting is by voice vote, ordinance or resolution, and it's going into the journal of all your rules, to me, that means you have an ordinance to change like you did 10 times before. All these rules you're talking about should be in ordinance form, not casual, fly-by-night, change when you want. I think your charter, which would trump Attorney General's legal opinion, would be, yes, we need an ordinance. That is my recommendation, but I don't mean that I have a right, I have any standing with you, but I certainly suggest it should be in that form. Second topic, on August 15th, 2022, at a council meeting, a statement was made from one of you at the dais that council allowed Mr. Osborne, full admission, my husband, to make, quote, blatantly false statements when he referenced the sunshine laws, and someone misunderstood and thought he had referenced Ohio Revised Code. Good thinking. Ohio Revised Code has a lot to do with what you do. But he didn't say Ohio Revised Code. He said the sunshine laws, and he cited, I believe it's section 8B. And then when it was turned around and said, there is no such thing in Ohio Revised Code. These are blatantly false statements made by a citizen, and all you council people allowed it. We've got a problem. It's what was in effect said. I would like to correct that record. I understand you cannot change it. I verified that before the meeting. You can't change the minutes. What was said was said. However, it was wrong. It was a misspeaking, shall I say. And I would like now, tonight's minutes, to reflect that my husband did not make blatantly false statements. What he said from the sunshine laws was accurate and it applied. And I would like it to show in the record that his reference was accurate and that the reference and statements made about him on August 15th were inaccurate, a misspeaking. I understand that. Not a personal, I tried to get my husband, but a misspeaking. And I would like the record to show that. Thank you.
Anyone else wanting to address council? Okay, last call. Okay. Moving on to old business. Can I have a motion and a second to rescind the rules of council as currently adopted?
Revolt moves.
We're in second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I have a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Member Matheny,
Nay?
Member McLeister,
Yes.
Member Warren,
Yes.
Member Shroya,
Yes.
Member Revolt,
Yes.
Member Orr,
No.
4 in favor, 2 opposed.
Is this the point where we want to have the discussion, or do I need to make the next
You,
motion first?
you need to state if the motion carried or failed.
Okay, the motion carried, sorry. Is this the point where we're doing discussion, or do we do the next motion first?
So in traditional Robert's rules, it would be motion and second, debate, vote. Our sort of North Canton tradition is debate and then motion and vote. So
All right, let me introduce the proposed rules of council. I'm going to introduce the changes first, and then we'll talk about the discussion here. So, if you look at Rule 31, we're wanting to change the part that says words, tone, action, or other means. So that's the first change I want to point out. The second change is Rule 32, and this is the warnings. So instead of having the previous warnings, we will just have the one warning. Then we go down to Rule 37. 37 is changing to items on the agenda and a quarterly open topic, public speaks. Rule 39 is clarification of a rule, although it is implied in other places, to say this rule shall not apply to interruptions necessary to enforce the rules of council. Well, not probably necessary. I think it's well, I wouldn't say not necessary. It is necessary for clarification purposes, in my opinion. So let's start with Rule 31. Conversation on Rule 31. Changes for Rule 31.
That's the words, town, action.
Yes.
I can't hear you guys. You're gonna have to.
Was that the words, town, or words, tone, action?
To me, it's just a simple clarification. I don't think it really alters anything.
Agreed.
Any conversation on that you guys want to have? Moving on to Rule 32, warnings.
Well, the warnings are posted on there. You want to give that as the first warning, the second warning? Is that what you're saying?
No, we're looking to just have one warning.
That they've read it.
But the first warning is given on the screen.
Yes, correct.
So the second warning,
There is no second.
well, there has to be a second warning to excuse somebody.
That's.
I think what-
You can have an opinion if you like.
I think what John's getting at is the second warning you're getting kicked out because the first warning was the screen. That's what he's getting at.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Is that what you're saying, John? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. On the second one, you're being asked to.
You're being,
Ask.
Yep.
Yes.
and everyone is aware of that warning because it's on the screen.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll give a more comprehensive preamble for you members.
Now, with this stuff here, it was changed a little bit.
We're talking about Rule 32. We're going to get through this, and then if you want to debate the whole policy, we can come back.
Okay. With,
So let's debate this. If there's other things you'd like to talk about after we go through this, we can go through this right after. That's
that's fine.
okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So Rule 32, any further discussion on Rule 32?
No, it makes sense.
Rule 37 is the change that we've been talking about and back and forth for several meetings now. So this would be agenda only, except for a quarterly session where it would be open to any time. So this opens, if you guys would like to talk about 37 now.
So we didn't previously discuss the quarterly in any other meeting. So that was added for this
Can you
meeting.
speak up? Sorry.
Sorry. Got to clear my throat. Say the quarterly was not discussed in any other previous meeting. We did discuss the public speaks to be anything that was safety related, and I see that that's also been removed from this. I think that's limiting individuals' opportunity to speak, as in tonight, when we had the young lady speaking about the flood issues, which would not have been on the council rules, because we're not allowing safety items, then that can only be discussed once a quarter. Excuse me. And then I look at this quarterly public speaks as a concern. Technically, since this is scheduled by council president, it's very vague. Quarterly could actually mean January, first week of January meeting and the last week of June meeting. And we would have a public speaks that was 6 months apart from each other. And I don't think that that's reasonable to expect from citizens. I would like for the council to discuss the option of having maybe once a month public speaks to be involved here. So then it could be the first council meeting of every month. It would be very specific. Individuals and residents would know when to expect an opportunity to speak. It would not necessarily postpone their ability, but it would give them an opportunity at least once a month to speak in front of council. The other item that I'd like to discuss there is, and I really validate the option of items on the agenda only. I think that's extremely important to make sure that city council can move through the process of legislation and vote on it and have input for that. And I would like to see public speaks just before reports are given, and then give them an opportunity to speak about anything that would be on their mind. That we need to keep the flow of the meeting going and keep the agenda in line and have only agenda items spoke about first. So when we do offer public speaks, hopefully at least once a month, that it would be closer to report time and not interfere with the flow of the meeting.
I agree with what David has said. Also, you know, we've had numerous people speak and they're not for this. I've had numerous phone calls. Not for this. They feel it's taking away their freedom of speech. Right? We're not really doing that. The quarterly, that was just added. This is the first we've heard of this. We've never talked about it. I don't know if legal has looked through this, and that's why we're changing it. So this is actually the first discussion we're having about this. I feel with what we all walked in here today, and there were probably a few surprises. Put your arms out, you know, you're getting searched. America has changed, but our rights for freedom of speech never change. I was elected by my constituents in Ward 4. No one has come up and said, John, that's a great idea. Not one. I feel with this additional stuff that we're doing before each meeting, no one should be threatened. We're taking this out. Threatened and harassed, two different things. Neither is good. But being an elected official, I'm going to go with what my people of Ward 4 want me to do. Not what I want to do, but I was elected by them, and I will stand by what they want. So I feel I agree with that. Maybe the first council meeting we have the public speaks.
Thank you, John. I think too that, you know, freedom of speech is a right that all U.S. citizens are entitled to. Speaking at council meetings is a privilege, and that privilege can be taken away if it's abused. I fully understand that. But I don't want to be part of an elected official that chooses to start going down that slippery slope of deciding, you know, or limiting that freedom of speech within the council. I think North Canton is an amazing city to live in, and I think that people that want to speak, such as Teresa tonight, and speak passionately in front of the administration, mayor, and city council, should be given that right to do so, and that privilege to speak to all of us at the same time.
And we had an elderly gentleman come in and he spoke about changing a rule. We had $500 of his money. We would never have known this. And we got it on, got him his money. He didn't feel he had to wait, 90 days or 120 days. We would never have known this if it wasn't for public speech.
Why would we not have known that? Why couldn't he have come to any one of us before, after? Why couldn't he come to the permits department during? I'm just saying.
I don't know
that
why, but
specifically-
he came here.
No. That's what you're making is a very false statement. That is not the only
What do you mean
form.
false statement?
You're saying that's the only way that he could have addressed his problem is to come to public speaks?
How many
He
people?
couldn't go to the director of permits and ask him that?
He
He
probably
couldn't have gone to the administrator, the mayor, any one of us? This is where I have a problem with people using the word freedom of speech in saying this. That is very problematic. If it
In
was
your
a
opinion,
freedom,
in your opinion.
no, in the Ohio Revised Code opinion, look at all the places around us that don't even allow public speaks, that limit it to 3 minutes, on topic only, mics cut off, nothing. Don't give me that. I'm sorry. I
Do they?
am
do
a
they-
huge, I let you speak and it's my turn to speak.
Okay, speak.
When you say the word freedom of speech, are you telling me that the Ohio Revised Code is false? Is that what you're saying? When you say it's taking away my freedom of speech? If that's the case, take your argument up with the Ohio Revised Code. Go to the Ohio legislation. Don't tell me, don't question my patriotic rights, my question.
We're
You say
questioning-
I'm taking,
we're
stop
questioning the
interrupting.
city.
Again,
We're
I'm not
questioning the
interrupting you.
city.
You interrupt me every time. I want to make my point. If it was taking away freedom of speech, it would be against the Ohio Revised Code, period. Let's take that off the table. Let's not make this an exaggerated claim of I'm taking away your freedom of speech. There are multiple avenues for people, including in this proposal, a quarterly public speaks or any topic. You can go to any person and have what you want to say on the record through a department report. You can have an email. The city offices, who many of you have been to request public records, to talk to people one-on-one, open for business. Are you denied the opportunity to go there? Are they taking away your right to go there? No, they're not. We're also having a public availability session, which I'm going to encourage. Not going to be part of the council rules. It's not necessary. That is another avenue. So I take offense to you guys saying we're taking away your freedom of speech. We are not doing that. It is a gross misstatement. It's an aggravation. Mr. Tripp, you can leave.
What?
What do you think?
I was agreeing with you.
You were not.
I was shaking my head up and down.
You were not, but that's fine. You've publicly interrupted me third time. Okay, you can leave the premises, please.
You now have another.
Again, thank you. Go on, I'm done. Yep.
I'll speak up. I think we're ignoring let me just take a step back. First of all is, I think all of us know that public speaks or the rules of council are expire annually. So they can be amended or changed at that juncture.
Term.
That term, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's the term. So there's an opportunity to make amendments, and if the council so wishes, interim during the term, it can also make changes in the rules. This is not permanent by any stretch. We heard Ms. Palmer talk about an ordinance. The fact of the matter is, This is a council meeting. It is not the mayor's meeting. He is invited to the council, expected to attend the council meetings. But if you pass an ordinance, the mayor has veto authority. And that introduces him, I think, unwisely into the management of council meetings. I would point out that the sunshine laws and the public meeting laws are rather extensive. They really consider virtually every aspect of the operation of a public meeting. The one place that they don't intrude is in public speaks, public participation meeting. They leave that to the councils to make their own rules. The exception being that if you interrupt a meeting, there are some penalties. The elephant in the room here, unfortunately, is the fact that our rules have been abused. And this isn't casual abuse. The comments typically are prepared. They're written statements. They're premeditated. They're unfiltered. And that's why we're here today. I will tell you, for all and the record, I would much prefer, and I think some of you have heard me say this privately, I'd willingly go back to the old days. 1981, when I was first elected, and there was no time limit and there was no limit on the topics. We're in a different place today. And I've reluctantly concluded that this is an issue we need to address. Now, at this point, it's been the practice of this council and the council president to set the meeting agenda in advance. We vote on it. If the council is not attentive to that public speak, that quarterly public speaks, it's not doing its job. So if members of council feel that there is an adequate notice at the time that schedule is adopted, it should say something. Hey, this is too close, not enough time. I would say that, I would also say that I too have heard from some constituents who frankly are weary of the shenanigans. And they support an effort to address that conduct. Let me repeat that. I have constituents too who recognize and are weary of the behavior. You know, we've heard from people tonight who talk about how sacred this is. How sacred is it when we have individuals in this community moving through the community, offering to pay people to come to these meetings? Whose opinion am I hearing when that individual stands at the microphone? Fair question. I trust the good judgment of this body to manage an open microphone. There is absolutely no reason that this body can't, on an agenda, include a special section at some point, like we did a number of weeks ago, for flooding. There are multiple ways to communicate with council and the administration. But I come back to this point now. That podium has been abused. And I think we need to address that.
Daryl, I agree with you. We do need to address that.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I just think, as I look at this, Dave, I look at how robust some conversations were back in the 80s. I know you guys don't want to go back into the Wayback Machine. It's a long time ago. When I had hair. As I told somebody today, we're the closest that people have, that the voters and citizens of this community have delegated to us the authority to run this community. We do it with our vote. We do it through our charter and our ordinances and rules. I think people need to understand that virtually everything that we do in this community around this table right now is reviewed by legal counsel. And we should understand, and the community needs to understand that this proposal has been reviewed by council. So, I don't know, but I think we're in a situation, Dave, that something's got to
Well,
give.
let's do a compromise. So instead of going quarterly and 4 times a year, let's cut it in half. So now you speak once a month instead of twice a month. We have rules, 31 and 32 that extends more power to President Stroya to keep things under control. And like you stated before, if that doesn't work, we'll change it again. Let's meet in the middle.
I guess, one thought while you were saying, it has been to also look at, let's look and see what everyone else is just doing. And that kind of goes to your sunshine laws and the different codes. And you're right, every single council is doing it differently. And when you also look back, you said on numerous different meeting nights, nobody speaks. I mean, there are very, very few people that are speaking. So they're saying these are fine because nobody's speaking. So unfortunately, we've had issues with this. And I also, in Ward 3, have had people say, I'm so glad you're changing it. I don't want to come to council. I don't want to be up there speaking and be put in that category of speaking with people who yell at you and say poems and disregard the different things that are happening at council. So I have people that say it's time to change it, and they want to see that. When people talked about safety, people do see the outbursts, that happen here at council, and they see that people have screamed here at council and questioned different votes or where people are. I mean, screaming. So when I come home, or when people say what happened at that meeting or it's televised, people are like, wow, are you concerned? And some of you could say, oh, I don't know how people would feel like that. I'm not even putting this in my mind. These are other people's impressions of what people are seeing that goes on here. Are you worried that someone's waiting out in the bushes? Are you worried that someone's going to react in such a manner? That's what I'm hearing. And so when we said we're doing this, they're like, it is time. If people can't behave like this, if Matt has to get upset at every single meeting, we have to wait for someone to be escorted out, and then we have to come back to business. It's embarrassing. We shouldn't have to do that. And so I like the compromise, Dave. The one thing I would say, though, is I think the compromise is, for instance, I called Patrick twice this week. I talked to Matt, I talked to Daryl, I talked to Ben. That's when business gets done. I had 2 constituents call me. The problems are resolved. They might not like how they resolve them, but they have answers to their questions. It's immediate, it's quick, it's timely. When you come up here, often you don't know who they're talking to. The message is often not pointed. It's sometimes it doesn't even, it's not going to anyone. If you have an issue, call me. I am so much quicker getting that done than if you come here and wait on a Monday night. I am available 7 days a week. I call people back anytime. That's when it gets done. So I guess I feel like the quarterly, I'm okay with it. You still have options to speak every single time that we have that on the record. You still have your 5 minutes. I don't know. And I want the shenanigans to stop.
And I think those could be addressed in the rules that changed with 31 and 32, and they're very strong. President Stroya, you've got a challenge, and enforcing those is going to be very difficult. And
But does it need to be?
And I think that's going to change the tone, and I'd like to see us make a gradual change. And if it doesn't work, then move to quarterly, but we found a way to meet in the middle, and those residents that have spoken can see that we're trying to compromise and come up with an alternative solution.
And when you're done, I'd like to say a few things, Darrell. No, go ahead.
We pitched this. We need one vote tonight, correct, to adopt the new rules.
This would be a repeal and replace.
This is a repeal and replace, all right? Mr. Matheny, I will, I'll meet you halfway. And here's my pitch. That we have an open mic once on the even numbered months. It's not a quarter. It's not once a month. But it's once in the even month, set by council by vote.
So let's meet in the middle. If currently we have public speaks 12 times or 24 times
You're
a
gonna get it
year,
6.
24,
You're gonna get it 6.
we went from 4 to 6, and I'm proposing 12. That's meeting in the middle. If it doesn't work, I would be the first one to step up January 1 when we vote on, well, we don't vote January 1 because it's not election year, but I will be the one to step up January 1st if we can't control this to make our meetings more productive if we go with the once a month. And I think Jamie would like to speak.
Yeah, this has just been such a good back and forth. I'm like,
This is good dialogue.
I know.
Appreciate it.
It is. No, I just wanted to, like I heard from over here, I've heard from residents as well. And I get the same sentiment as what you're getting, Stephanie, that people want to see things change. They see the fighting, they see the antics that come here. Again, I mean, we saw tonight as someone was asked to leave, and I don't think it's not ironic the fact that this gentleman was quoted in the newspaper just a couple weeks ago saying that he got kicked out on purpose. Mm-hmm. These people know the rules, they know them better than we do, and they do them to put on a show. And I for one support rules. I will agree and go with Darrell and say I would support once a month. I also want to support what President Stroy was saying. I don't believe for 1 second that this is silencing or impeding on people's free speech. So first off, we are here to do the business of the people, which is this agenda. And I want to hear anything and everything that somebody has to say about these items. But when it comes to something else, I've got a city cell phone, I've got a city voicemail, I've got 2 city email addresses. There are ways for people to get in touch with me. And while I don't want to mention her by name, one of my constituents was here and called us all out on inaction because of flooding earlier this year. And first off, I'll say, there's not a second that it's not raining that I don't think, oh my God, we're going to have this again. So it's not a thought that just goes through her mind, it goes through my mind as well. But the sad reality is I was called out for inaction here. That doesn't, she's never once picked up the phone and called me. Monday nights is not the only way to get in touch with your council member. My phone is on. I never turn this off. I'm a pharmaceutical rep by trade. This sits next to me in my car, and I call people back when they call.
I don't think I have ever missed a call. There are ways to get in touch with each and every one of
And
us.
that's what I'm saying.
It's not
Stephanie's
impeding
point.
free speech.
Yeah.
It's not impeding free
To
speech.
Stephanie's point, you can get better action going direct. But I ask this elected body that needs to respond to the residents to say, I'm not going to be the one to cut this off or limit this drastically. You get once a month to speak. It's the first meeting every month. It's easy to remember. You don't need to magically post it everywhere. You don't need to remind everybody. It's simple. The first city council meeting of the month, there is a public speaks on any topic you want. Rest of the time, it's agenda only, and let's get the business done. If that doesn't work, like I said, I'll be the first to step up and say, we need to do more.
But I think another way that we could do this is communication is important between us, correct? And I know that I keep in touch with all of you. And I apologize because I call you at night and football game days. And I mean, Patrick and I were on the phone till like 8:30 the other night. And that's when honestly real business happens. And that's when we are conversing. And so I know that if someone called me, I could say, hey, Matt, this person called me. This is an issue. Can we put this on the agenda? I know with the dialogue that I've had with Matt, he would probably say, yeah, sure, we can definitely talk about that in a second. Matt is the owner of this agenda, and he can do whatever he wants with it. It just takes that communication. So if there were a number of us talking, if that had to be the case, Matt would easily put it. But it doesn't even take a number of us. It takes one single person to call Matt. I mean, it's that easy. So all it takes is for someone to call us. They don't have to come on a Monday night. I mean, we don't have many people coming, except for a couple that come with prepared notes. I mean, that's an easy way to do it.
Mr. Tripp got excused tonight.
Yeah.
He was expelled.
He was mocking Matt.
This is probably the third or fourth time. What can we do legally to not have him here? Would be a question.
Is that directed to me?
Well, none of us.
You are
want
the
it, but
expert.
That would be something we should probably look into,
Yeah, and
or
that's,
maybe you have.
that's something that we can address, at a different time. I don't think that's something to discuss on the floor as we speak, but there are mechanisms in place that can be addressed, and if the council wants to bring it to me through the city, I'd be happy to look into that. But that's not something I think we should discuss on the floor.
But that's another thing we could look into. And, if they're gonna come in and violate the rules on purpose, we really have no place for it,
Which they say they do.
which they say they do. But I tend to agree with David. I think let's give it till January 1st and do once a month, the first meeting of the month.
I don't want to weigh in on it. I just throw something out, just for clarification. So when you say the first meeting of the month, are we distinguishing between committee nights and regular nights? Because sometimes those don't.
First city
meeting of the
council.
month.
First city council.
Regular
You
city
mean regular.
council
Okay,
meeting.
thank you
Correct.
for clarifying.
Right, any further discussion on Rule 37? Okay.
Patrick.
Yes.
But just for clarification from me to you.
Yeah.
As you are considering rule changes, for the record, the gentleman that came to city council concerning the $500 was already addressed and handled before he came to city council. I can't stop someone from coming to city council and continuing a dialogue, but that, when it was first brought to my attention, the superintendent of the building department brought it to my attention. I reviewed the rules with him, felt that it was silly. We needed to revise the rules formally. Was there any kind of gray area that would allow me to refund the money? There was, I did. And then we brought to council, the engineer, the superintendent of building, myself, legal had looked at how can we reword this, and then we brought that to council forthwith. You had it practically the week after he he had spoken. That wasn't because you had heard it, you may have heard it for the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time.
But it had been addressed, long before that. So. Just
And a
that-
lot of times that is, I mean, I know, Patrick, from talking to you, we are doing things about flooding. And we're trying to think of more ways that we can help in the future as well. But if the grass clippings aren't getting cut, well, then that would have been really simple to call Jamie, quite honestly. And I know that the next time that it was mowed, it would have happened. Like, those are things that we need to know. And I don't know who the engineer she's talking to, but have him call us again. He has some ideas.
President Stroya, there's 3 months between now and January, I think, in terms of meetings. Are you willing to make a once a month
I'm
public
gonna
speak?
get through the rules here, and then we'll talk about our options right after
Okay.
that. But I mean, to all your points, Mr. Elsas, when he came up, and he gave a great presentation. He was very succinct, very professional, had the information, gave it to us, moved on. I'm not debating the validity of his argument. I thought it was fantastic. But you can't tell me that that couldn't have been handled in several other ways, and
Pat said
actually
it was.
it already was. I mean, at what point does our public speaks become karaoke night?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, it seems like it's already there. It's
Not by all individuals,
no, not at
No.
all.
No,
not
No.
all,
a few.
I agree with that.
It's just-
But it is clearly infecting the integrity of the meeting. The integrity of the meeting is to run legislation in a succinct, efficient manner. That is not happening.
Let's get through the rules and
Yeah,
then
let's
come
go.
back.
You just,
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
as you go through.
Sure.
Okay. I'm willing to compromise. If he needs, as you sit and noodle this, Mr. Rohr, I'm willing to go every other month. So that's as far as at this point that I'm willing to go. And I'm willing to reassess it in the future, but I'm willing to bend a little bit on this. But I think it's just absolutely imperative that a signal be sent, that the conduct of the use is unacceptable. So, but I'm willing to bend.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Okay.
So there you go. Should deliberate.
Any other discussion on Rule 37 right now? We can come back to it, but I'd like to get to 39.
Yeah, let's go.
So 39 is just the clarification. Let's see. Again, this is implied, but I wanted to make sure that this was in to say that it will not apply to the interruptions due to the breaking of the council rules. So very simple, but it wasn't in there, and I wanted it to be very clear.
That makes
That's
sense.
the only, it's not anything groundbreaking, it's just a minor change there. Any conversation on that?
No, makes sense.
All right. Here's what I'll propose. I think legislatively, or most efficiently, the best way to go forward is, since this is a repeal and replace, I'd like to vote on what we have here now. And then if someone wants to make an amendment under new business or Council Rule 37, as we just said, to illustrate a compromise, they're willing to bring it back up and open that up for that next discussion, which would be tonight at new business. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Well, if it is passed, it won't really take effect with the mayor signing.
No, he's not going to sign it.
This is council rules.
Oh, council rules, okay, okay, all right, sorry about
No
that.
statute
Okay, no
required.
problem.
Goes into effect.
But I think this way it doesn't, I'm not denying the collaboration that we have going on from this debate. We're just bringing it up in a separate topic so we can get this on the record and active as rules. Is that fair?
Because we're only talking about changing the one rule potentially
Right.
during new business.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, I
Yeah.
mean, these are our council rules. We brought them up, I think it's been 5 times this year.
Mhm.
I brought them up at random because we're onboarding new people.
Mhm.
And I wanted people to have an understanding of these rules. So we can come back to the council rules at any time.
Well, and over the years, I know that I've brought them up.
Yeah.
Other people have brought them up throughout the years. Things have changed.
Can I ask a procedural clarification question?
Yes.
Any amendments that may be proposed during new business? Are you intending that that would be just a single vote tonight?
No, not
Or do
repeal
you
and
want it
replace
to
them.
follow
Amendment.
the amendment procedure requiring 2 votes?
Yes, it would, so,
Okay.
yes, correct.
So any amendment that would receive a first vote tonight after repeal and replace would take, vote number 1 would occur tonight on that amendment, and then vote number 2 would occur on September 26th if we adopt this meeting calendar. Correct?
Yeah, we're gonna treat it that way under Rule 42, yes. That's
Yes,
why I
okay.
asked.
All right, fair enough.
So can I have a motion and a second to adopt the red line draft of the rules of city council? Effective 8/23/2022.
Chuck, real quick,
Yeah.
point of order. Do we need to reference that we're repealing and replacing?
You all made that motion. That's the motion
Yeah.
that
Okay.
you had to do roll
Okay, I'm
call
sorry.
on.
That's
All right, go ahead, sir.
No problem. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt the red line draft of the rules of council effective 8/23/2022 as included in council's packet as the new rules of council? Such new rules shall include all changes shown in the red line draft.
Do we have a roll call? Yes.
We will, yes.
It's so moved.
Second.
All in favor? And we'll do a roll call vote.
Member, yeah. Member Orr,
Nay.
Member Revolt,
Yes.
Member Stroya,
Yes.
Member Warren,
Yes.
Member McLeister,
Yes.
Member Matheny,
Nay.
4 in favor, 2 opposed.
Okay, the motion passes. So we can bring that back up again at new business. Okay, can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 56-2022?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance of the City of North Canton to establish a fund entitled One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund Number 217 for the purpose of accounting for related revenue and expenditures associated with the One Ohio Opioid Settlement distribution and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, we've already discussed this. It's as it states. I move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 56-2022 under suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 57-2022?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing the appropriation of funds of the City of North Canton to be appropriated for current expenses during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022.
Okay, just additional appropriations totaling 3 million plus, different fire levies, municipal roads, COVID release, capital improvements, parks. Just things that we need to tidy up on. Any additional comments, Gina?
No, we just had one amendment because we received a donation for the Parks Fund that we added.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, I move to adopt.
We need the motion to amend.
Well,
first.
motion to amend, sorry.
Can I have a motion and a second to amend ordinance 57-2022 to include an additional appropriation of $24,125 for parks, account number 212-3.309, as shown in the draft in council's packet?
Revolt moves the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I have a motion and a second to adopt the first reading of ordinance 57-2022 as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 56-2022 as amended under suspension of rules?
56 or 57?
57.
57, sorry, let me read that. Motion and second to adopt ordinance 57-2022 as amended under the suspension of the rules. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 58-2022?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton through the Board of Control to renew a personal services agreement for computer server, network, workstation monitoring, maintenance and support, remote and on-site support, malware protection, web browsing protection, patch management, dark web monitoring, and security awareness education for the city's critical, complex municipal infrastructure equipment. And, given the critical nature of this agreement, to do so without advertising for bids as provided by Charter Section 4.05, Contracting and Purchasing, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, we've talked about this again. Catherine talked about it. I talked with Patrick about it. And I think what's really important in this is it says the city's critical, complex municipal infrastructure equipment. And this is what Patrick does day in and day out. Catherine, Gina, the mayor, they're the experts in this. And this is the system that they want. So I move to adopt.
Vote seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved. Oh, sorry. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 58-2022 under suspension of the rules?
So,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed?
Gotta be
Motion
quicker.
carries. Okay.
I just wanted to say real
Okay.
quick, because this infrastructure thing that you talked about, this is an expensive contract,
Yeah.
but not passing this under an emergency, one breach could be devastating to the city. So it's very, very important legislation to pass under emergency.
Yep,
Yeah,
go ahead.
with that. You know, we have discussed this in all of probably 180 seconds.
This
But I-
one?
This one.
No.
Well-
Catherine spoke a good deal about it.
We're voting on this very quickly.
Yes.
But I think the point that amplify Mr. Matheny's comment is let's think about where we were when Administrator Diorio brought this to us the first time, where we were.
But I think, I mean, I know I know where you're going, but I agree, but that's why we are passing it quickly.
Well-
Because we know what's been into it, we know the contract, and we know it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My point is,
It's been vetted.
this was not always a high priority.
I know that.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, and the administration should get a lot of credit,
they do.
get this stood up and get it renewed,
I mean,
so we don't have
Right.
the major episode.
and for how many years, Patrick, there wasn't even an increase. It was just this year is the final
Yeah.
time they put it.
First
Yeah.
time in 4 years.
Yeah, small increase. So it has been vetted. And yes, we're moving forward, but Catherine and Patrick have done a really nice job explaining it. And I think we all know how important it is. So, okay, we passed it.
Right, moving on to, can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 59-2022?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to release AMC Land Company Limited from performance bond obligations established by a commercial bond as authorized by ordinance 52-2021.
Okay, we talked about this in committee and in a previous meeting. I can't believe this is only the second reading. But this is to release the bond. They've fulfilled all their obligations. So I move that we adopt?
For both seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 60-2022?
For both.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to enter into an agreement with AMC Land Company Limited, thereby accepting its maintenance bond to guarantee certain maintenance improvements in the Monticello phase of development.
Okay, again, we discussed this in committee and at the first reading. This is a maintenance bond to go into effect, and this is held with I think a piece of land is the collateral.
Mortgage deed.
Mortgage, yeah, that's right. Yep. Any comments, questions? Move we adopt?
Motion to adopt. For both seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 61-2022?
All those.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to prepare and submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission for a grant for the Wise Avenue Northeast Reconstruction Project, and, if awarded, authorizing the mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into an agreement for the receipt of said grant and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, this is an OPWC, I should probably read that. It's Ohio Public Works Commission grant, and it's for Wise Avenue. This is the small stretch. I believe this is in cooperation with Plain Township.
No.
No.
This is the
That's
Wise.
later.
Oh, my bad, yeah. So this is the Wise Avenue reconstruction project here. Any comments, questions, anything on this? Pretty standard. I move we adopt.
Patrick.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Just for edification purposes, this will effectively be on Wise Street northeast from Maple to 7th Street. And it will involve, if successful in getting a grant, a complete reconstruction of that street, including curb and gutters. And separate from that, if successful in getting this, we're budgeting for replacing the sidewalk and double strips from Maple to 7th Street on both sides, and making sure that handicap accessible, what do you call it, curb cuts, so that people will be able to continue to make that walk. And it's part of what we'll be talking about when we get to the budget, though, is kind of a master plan, if you will, of a walkability district for the city, which would go from the intersection of Maple and Main, down Maple to Wise, north on Wise to 7th, west on 7th to Main, and then south on Main back to Maple. So that block. The intent is to create that walkable district, and we feel that, on 7th Street, we've already done that work. On Main Street, we're in fairly good shape with that. That the bad section is this Maple to 7th on Wise that needs to be addressed. So you're seeing part of that now because we have a deadline application September 16th that we're applying for. So hence the emergency.
Any other comments? I move we adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 61-2022 under the suspension of the rules?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only 62-2022?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to prepare and submit an application to the Ohio Public Works Commission for a grant for the East Maple Street repaving project, and, if awarded, authorizing the mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into an agreement for the receipt of said grant and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Thank you, Ben. So this is the OPWC grant for East Maple. Patrick, you want to talk about that? Or Ben?
No, other than this is, cover the section basically from behind the Uber company down to Markport.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Move we adopt.
So moved. Or second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Revolt moves.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 62-2022 under suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so moving on to new business. So let's propose this one and then we'll get to and final business. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend council rules 23 to allow consideration of items 8A and 8B without a committee report?
Revolt moves to suspend Rule 23 for items 8A and 8B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 63-2020?
So moved. Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
Real quick for the record before I read this, the version that went out in the public packet, the title of the ordinance did not include the ending phrase and declaring the same to be an emergency. You all were provided with a corrected version this morning. An ordinance authorizing participation in the National Bridge Inspection Program through the Ohio Department of Transportation through calendar year 2023 and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, so this is to go into contract with the National Bridge Inspection Program. We renew this every year, correct? Or is it every 2 on that?
The previous one was 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Rob does not, we have not been told what the next renewal term will be. So this is only for 2023.
Okay, all right. Good with that. I don't see a reason why we would not join that. Does anyone else?
No,
No.
Any other comments?
I think it's just procedural.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I move we adopt.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 63-2022 under the suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, and 8B, can I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 64-2022?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to enter into an agreement with Plain Township for the extension of city water lines as part of the township's Orion Street reconstruction project and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Jamie, formerly Rubbish, now Utilities.
I was just going to remark on that this is the first item brought up under the Utilities Committee, formerly known as Water, Sewer, and Rubbish. So new beginnings, I guess. But so this is a project, Plain actually had reached out to us. They're doing some work over on Orion and wanted to see if there was some possibility for collaboration. And we're going to be able to, I guess, loop in our water lines, as you would call it, which might potentially get us some more customers down the road. But this is a joint venture between Plain Township and the city of North Canton. And I'd pass it on to Patrick if he had any other thoughts or if I'm got any holes in my description there. But
Well, I guess there's a little bit more of a backstory that I think that should be told, because I think it illustrates a collaboration between competing entities, the city of North Canton and Plain Township, and that we can find ways to cut across those competing interests and do something together. So Plain Township's road superintendent, J.P. Neff, reached out to me concerning if I would write a letter of endorsement of their project on Orion. Orion is west, the section that they wish to do is west of where Eastwind and Arnsby come out. That's a neighborhood that I used to live in, so I'm very familiar with it. Floods all the time and buckles their roadway all the time, no matter how many times they end up replacing it. So they want to do some curb and gutter and deal with some of the water issues there. They thought that an endorsement letter from the city would help them with scoring. We reached out to our city engineer, who advised us that there's a better way to get more points, and that would be for us to extend the city's water line interest. And we do have an interest in doing that, because west of that intersection, people are on wells on the north side of the street. So this would enable us to get some additional customers, but at the same time, it would allow us to loop our system to provide better redundancies in the event that water goes out to our existing customers over in the city's old neighborhood where I live, or the one to the west, which is Winterberry Green. So then we want to commend Ben Young. There was some use the right word here. There was some lag time involved between getting Plain Township's law department to draft something that we could consider, getting it to our legal counsel, our law department, and Ben stepped into that void and helped model some legislation after what we had done with our Stark County project with Pittsburgh Road. And so he had put that together. So we appreciate that. That sped it up. We got it to their legal counsel and their trustees and their administrator, and same with our legal counsel and myself, and signed off on that. And they too are facing the September 16th deadline. So we're asked to pass this tonight. Tomorrow, Plain Township trustees will meet at their regular meeting, and they will pass this on an emergency so that they can get in there. So hopefully it's a project that gets awarded for them, and that we can say that we played a collaborative part in it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for that explanation. With that, I would move that we pass.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
Make that motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 64-2022 under suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Second?
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so at this time, any new business? Well, can we reverse final call for new business? Does anyone have a problem? Can I make a motion to,
Motion to amend the agenda.
motion to amend the agenda and have final call for new business before department reports?
Revolt moves.
Second.
Amendment to the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
1 second, guys.
Motion carries.
Mhm.
Okay, so this will be the final call for new business here. So,
I'm going to propose an amendment to our new rules. This is specifically to Rule 37. If you would look at the language, this is what I'm going to suggest. That if you will proceed to the sentence that begins additionally, strike once per quarterly and replace it once each even numbered month. And then in the following sentence, strike quarterly and replace that with, I think it's bi-monthly. Pardon? Bi-monthly.
Mhm.
Bi-monthly.
yeah,
Semi-repeat.
Right, right.
So such bi-monthly speaking opportunities shall be scheduled by the president of council. So that is my proposal.
And, well,
Can we make it the first council meeting of the month? Of that, instead of by president
No,
of
you don't
council
want it, I don't want it,
recognition?
I will go every other month.
No, I understand every other month, but have it scheduled for the
I
first
mean,
council
I
meeting.
will. I don't know if that needs to be in both.
It makes it easier for Ben.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need to wait on anything, he can automatically put it into the agenda.
Our goal is to have our schedule at least 6 months laid out. That would be nice to have an annual schedule, so it'll be.
It's something that we should look for too, when we
Yeah.
approve that schedule.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure it's necessary that it be in the rules, but it would make sense.
and I think that's, as long as we have things laid out, like I think you
Yeah.
and I talked earlier, because I had a call from a constituent this morning that, or this afternoon, that also was concerned about when it would
Yeah.
lie. But as long as we have everything laid out, yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
fine.
I think at the
So-
beginning of the year, we'll say when the 6 times are.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah,
Probably beginning. I guess I would say that, David, to how you had said that if this gets carried away, I think that we need to review it again. I mean, we've made a lot of steps to try to have decorum and not have Matt have to gavel people down every single time. And, we went from 0 to, and I was surprised, until I talked to Daryl last week about the 4, because that wasn't mentioned either. And now we're to 6. With, again, the availability of all of us, basically 24/7, to call and get things moved even more quickly. And with the availability of us to ask Matt at any point to put something on the agenda. So if this is just a free speech again for a tax and people to be thrown out, then I'm gonna ask that we review it and take it away. It is a privilege, and that's what you had said also.
To fight.
For what?
Get reviewed if we have,
Because why?
because I won't tolerate it. I won't tolerate a problem. It can go away.
Well, then why have it? That's my point.
I understand.
So that again, we're to the same issue where North Canton is a laughingstock of public meetings, and those same people that we talked about, that we're trying to say, hey, come up and speak, and we want you here, they do not want to come. So,
We have a
Okay.
proposal with a motion.
Any further discussion?
I believe Daryl needs a second.
I
Well,
was,
I was asking if we have any more discussion first,
I'll second Daryl's proposal.
okay, all in favor?
Can we have a roll call?
Sure. Roll call vote, please.
Member Matheny,
Yes.
Member McLeister,
Yes,
Member Warren,
yes.
Member Shroya,
Yes.
Member Volt,
Yes.
Member Orr,
Nay.
5 in favor, 1 opposed.
This will require a second vote on the 26th, correct?
Yes.
mhm.
Yes, so this would count as your motion to consider, although President Shroya still needs to call the result of the vote.
Motion passes 5-1. Next up, department reports.
Can I add another amendment to these rules? So one of the things that we do, and Ben and I spoke about this, is we make a motion to read by title only. When in essence, we could put in the rules that all ordinances are read by title only unless stipulated otherwise. And we're making motions that just seem frivolous, in my opinion. And it would be an easy rule to bypass.
I like
And
Safe words.
President Stroya could say, when it's time to move on, Ben, please read the next ordinance, and put that in the rules to eliminate a motion and a second to read by title only.
That's great. Dave, there was a time where we all had to vote, remember Daryl? Or Matt, were you here too? And it took so much time and each person was called. And it was kind of for that same idea. So, yeah, great idea.
Patrick.
I don't know if this is what Member Matheny meant, but it sent chills up my spine. I'm so excited about it. But, there was a time when I served on city council, and I had our law director at the time look into it. It was okay, but I couldn't get the votes on council to do it. But there was a time where you could just, at the beginning of the meeting, make one motion for the clerk to read all the ordinances by title only, all at one time,
Oh.
and get it out of the way.
But how did you have discussion?
Then we just went on to the agenda and just pulled up, each item. You would just pull up each item, but you
Wow.
don't have to make that motion again. I don't know if that's what you were saying or if I
I
misunderstood.
want to stop the motion and the second to read by title only that we do before every ordinance. Just, it's in the rules that we always read by title only unless
Yes.
it's requested to read the entire
You're-
ordinance.
The first two, like basically motions.
Yeah.
I love it. It's 30 minutes.
I was gonna say, that's gonna add minutes to each item we discuss, so.
I'm certainly not opposed to that.
Ben, could you type that up now? Well, actually, I'll make a motion that we eliminate reading, or the motion to read by title only and make it standard. Eliminate the motion to read by title only and make it a standard rule that all ordinances are read by title only unless otherwise stated, otherwise specified.
Hold on, let me check something.
I mean, does that really even need to be a rule? Is it in our what rule number is that?
We
Or
we
is that-
don't really have a rule addressing it at this point. It's a traditional procedural thing that law director in 1980 advised then council how to
Gotcha.
proceed, and we've never changed it since, as far as I can tell.
So, I mean, can that be a resolution or does it have to be a council rule?
I mean, it won't hurt you to put it in the rules.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's managed to be.
Yeah.
I think it's an easy fix for something that's just frivolous and time consuming.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I won't have to read it with the minutes every time they come up for review.
Yes.
Is that what started to bug you?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can save printer cartridges, you know,
As a
too.
speed
Yeah.
reader, you're like.
It's fun to read it out loud.
So we have a motion.
I have a question.
Sir,
For a law director. Mayor under our charter is entitled to introduce legislation. Does this proposal weaken council's ability to reject that legislation?
How so?
Well, we may want to let him, we may not want it even up for vote. Or you may only have 4. I'm trying to get this straight in my head.
Is this not just reading by title only?
Right.
It's not a matter of accepting it.
Right.
It's a matter of just having to read it by title only, making that motion to read by title only.
Right.
It's just
Right.
going to be read.
All right.
Mhm.
Accept
These
it
are
as
just
read.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's functionally putting it on the
Functionally.
floor to be considered as a main motion.
Did you motion?
I did.
I second.
Does what's on screen meet what
So,
you're looking for?
yes, all legislation appearing on council's agenda under old business or new business shall be read by title only unless otherwise specified by vote of council, provided the charter requirement that the full text is provided to council members prior to a meeting is met,
Very
prior
well
to
written.
meeting, prior to when meetings are met, or when meeting.
How about
Verbiage
prior to
doesn't-
the meeting?
There you go. That didn't flow very well. Yes, so we'll have the full information.
Yeah.
It's just reading by title only
Right.
is the motion.
I guess for a point of clarification, I'm not sure that this changed anything then. It's just saying that any legislation that appears shall be read by title only. It's actually saying that you shall read it
No.
by title. That's what it says.
Yes, we will read by title only. We're just not going to make a motion.
No, I thought you were eliminating, I thought we were gonna say that at the beginning, and then he wasn't gonna have to do that for any of them.
No, I still want him to read the title, each one.
Okay.
I just don't want to go through the motion,
Right.
the second,
Got it.
all approve.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
That's
so
what
I
I
knew we
wanna
were
do.
gonna read the title of it.
and that's what this does.
Got it.
We're still going to read the title
Yeah.
before discussing and voting and passing legislation.
Okay.
So for example, if we go back to ordinance 64, we get to 64, President Shroy would say, Ben, please read title of ordinance 64. I would read the title. So we'd skip that first motion a second to read by title only.
Yes.
If for some reason you wanted the entire legislation read in its entirety, for whatever reason you so may choose, you could certainly make a
Yeah.
motion to do that.
Okay.
What are you doing tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?
Probably delivering that ordinance to township offices so they
I
can.
thought you'd be reprogramming my 40 years of service here to get this out of my head. Okay? Probably take about 2 hours in a car back.
So we'll read it and then we'll read that.
Okay.
And then we go
So
to-
there's a motion and a second.
And no second yet.
Revolt will second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Excellent.
Just two
Thank you,
words.
Ben.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Department reports. Deputy Director of Administration. Director of Administration. Patrick.
Yes, okay, so, first want to say that the municipal pool will be closed another season. Now that Labor Day is past us, the pool is officially closed for the season. We'll be meeting with the Wyans. Okay, I'll just stand for this section. My seat just kind of went right to the floor. So we'll be meeting with the YMCA here in the next couple weeks to discuss the final updates and reconciling of the books regarding their management there. We should note for the record that the total number of members this year exceeded 4,576, which is a record.
Wow.
Last year it was 3,900 and change, so a significant increase. So I think that kudos to the council for the investments in the pool and allowing us to maintain that in a very aesthetic way is increasing that membership. So that's a good thing. The number of households that were members were 1,599 households.
Wow.
It's pretty substantial. I will caution, though, that as we get into next year's budget, that we will probably have to come back and address pool rates again, because the cost in the production of chemicals to treat the water is growing astronomically. This also affects our water treatment plant and the amount of chemicals that we consume there. It affects all water treatment plants everywhere. So unless something changes between now and next pool opening in May, we're budgeting for a fairly substantial increase in chemical costs. And at some point, we're going to have to address that as far as membership rates. Gina and her staff and myself and my staff are working fervently. Our up and coming are to kind of see where everything kind of fits, what may be required to be cut and triaged for the mayor to be able to send that to city council as his budget. So once those meetings are in place and those changes have been made, then you've all scheduled your time individually to meet with Gina and myself to review and talk about individual questions that you could have before we bring it to the city council. And the intent is to make sure that every one of you are more informed and more able to participate in discussions about the budget in your city council meeting. Number 3, I just have 4, so there's 2 more. I'm getting more serious in topic though. As you know me as your director of administration, but that is a title that encompasses 2 other things. I'm actually the director of public safety and the director of public service. Those are the 2 divisions or departments, if you will, that are recognized by the charter, and I oversee those. So as the director of public safety, I take that very seriously, and I take the duties as director of public service very seriously. As it relates to these meetings, you'll note that a disclaimer was put out in your packets. If you saw anybody that got a packet publicly or as a member of council, indicating that we were going to begin wanding individuals and subject to a bag search before public meetings. That's not just city council, but that will be planning commission and ZBA, zoning board of appeals as well. It is my responsibility to make sure that these meetings, although it's your meeting, it's in a building that I oversee, to make sure that these meetings stay safe, not just for you, but for all members of the public who may be coming here, and try to provide that in a very calming demeanor. So we know that there's nothing to worry about once the police department is doing their thing over here. So we're very grateful to Chief Kemp and his team for being able to lead us in that effort. So, but that it came as a directive from me. Flooding. So there isn't a week that goes by that I'm still not addressing and getting out and taking care of flooding concerns. I was out again today. I was out again last week. And some of these I'm able to ascertain that there is a city responsibility. And on those responsibilities, as the director of public service, I take them very seriously to resolve these issues. However, there are issues that are not the city's responsibility, that the city is not at fault. And some may not accept those answers, but they are the answers nonetheless. We're sorry, we sympathize, but it's not within our scope of authority to address those issues. They're not issues that can be addressed. For instance, the standard to build the storm sewer systems throughout the United States is to build them in the public roadway and to accommodate up to a 10-year flood, a 10-year rain. And without getting into the whole debate on climate change and that 10 years may or may not be the same as what it was when it was devised, that's what the standard is that everybody still builds to today. To build to a higher standard involves significantly more money. And I'm not sure that even if you build to the higher standard that you'd be allowed to. Because ultimately, the water doesn't stay in North Canton. It's passed off to another jurisdiction. And I can tell you in meeting with various federal agencies that passing that water off to another jurisdiction in a faster manner is not something that is deemed appropriate. And so we have to deal with what we have, and this is what we have. So to the extent that we can do some things that may help alleviate that, for instance, and I'm not the administrator who's going to talk to you about everything that we do, because that's just all a bunch of talk. We actually want to do things. But as it relates to perhaps some of the bigger things, is that, I too have observed a number of retention basins that the city is in control of, and have felt that that is something that we are addressing, and that we are hiring a consultant to answer these questions. Can I dig these retention basins deeper? Can I make those embankments taller? Can I widen or expand the retention basins as well by acquiring additional properties nearby? And to what capacity will that help solve the problem? How many tens of millions of gallons of water can we absorb? And that's the goal. So we're trying to do these things, and we're moving forward. But some of the bigger projects have to move forward in a deliberative manner. So we're budgeting as part of this process to be able to pay for that consultant to come in here, and we may have some funds available at the moment kind of get that process started, but recognizing that this is a study or an analysis that they'll do that'll take several months. So it may not be completed this year. We may not have to pay for the full thing this year, but we may have to initiate a deposit of some kind to kind of get it going. But that's the intent under there. So I don't take it lightly. I don't accept the word inaction. You'll hear from me when we present the budget talking about how there was a period of time in this city when there was inaction, and that we are far from that. So we are doing things. So I apologize for my seat going down abruptly like that and having to stand, but thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, President Story. And Patrick, thank you again. We are addressing the flooding issues. We have been. And we've been in conversation, and he's been challenged for this consulting to see where we're going to be, not only now, for in the future. So we are addressing those issues from the big rain that we had on, I think, May 14th, somewhere right around there. But if you'll bear with me, I have some comments tonight that I'd like to make. First of all, this came across the desk today. There's going to be a Zimber Ditch Creek cleanup. I don't know if you saw that. Creek cleanup at the Zimber Ditch. It's going to be sponsored by the Nimishillen Creek Watershed Partners. It's going to be 9 a.m. to noon this Saturday, September the 17th. They're going to offer a free lunch, and people can meet at 1000 West Main Street at Price Park. My only concerns would be dress for the weather. You may want to bring some gloves, maybe a bucket. I'm not sure what all they're going to provide, but this stems out of the LEAP program, the Litter Elimination, Awareness, and Prevention. And this coincides with the International Coastal Cleanup Day. That's the world's largest annual preservation and protection event for our oceans and beaches. So they coordinate that each day. I just wanted to pass that on. Thank you, Council, if you're not aware again, thank you to the employees of Ben Ostrom, Young, and Coots Insurance Company, and sponsoring the First Responders and Family Appreciation Dinner. That was recently held last Friday, September the 9th, Dogwood Park Center. They coordinated this event in support of our safety services, frontline workers, and as a remembrance of what they do and respect for what they do here. And also as in remembrance, too, of the tragic events of September 11, 2001, the attacks on the United States. Also, I thank a partner of our city, believe it or not, is Steve Toohey, for Operation Flags of Freedom. And he was there for his display, and Mission Barbecue provided food and appreciated that wonderful flag display that was along Dogwood Park along 7th Street. Folks, I had the opportunity, I was privileged to present a proclamation to the North Canton Heritage Society at its celebration of its 50th anniversary and its mission to preserve, protect, and share the history and heritage of North Canton. Please bear with me on a couple more comments from that proclamation. I do have a copy of it here if you'd like to see it. But this society has since prospered under the visionary leadership, and some of you may remember, Ruth Harpole Basner, the first society director, and then the directors who followed her have each dedicated themselves to preserving and sharing and interpreting the history of North Canton community and to the increasing public awareness and appreciation of the community's heritage. And the North Canton Heritage Society plays a vital role as an educational resource for our schools, community, and creating opportunities to better understand the city's progress from New Berlin to North Canton. And throughout his 50 years preserving the history of North Canton and its place in time, the society has and will continue to record and record the survival and progress of this wonderful city in our ever-changing world. I had an opportunity to present that proclamation to a gathering here in the city, and I offered to reread that at a board meeting if they liked. I also had the privilege, coincidentally, with the discussion that we probably had earlier, is on September the 17th, 2022, that marks the 235th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. So I do this every year, and it's in accordance with Public Law 915, guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America and designating the week of September 17 through September 23rd as Constitution Week. Folks, I also had the opportunity to be invited to participate in the Operation Desert Storm and Operation Desert Shield recognition for those veterans on Labor Day at the Stark County Fair. Had the opportunity to be to present some comments in support of their legacy of what they did for not only our country, but for humanity and around for our globe. Just so you know, again, our Veterans Day is a ceremony we'll have on the Bitzer Park on November the 11th at 11 o'clock. We will have our Veterans Day ceremony to honor our vets. And I'd also like to bring, as we all know, the world received sad news with the announcement of Queen Elizabeth II death this past week. And condolences, of course, are coming from around the world and within the Commonwealth. And for some of us, that is the only monarch that we've known in our entire life. And I also want to bring to your attention for the family of Robert Yoder, his passing, thoughts and prayers for their family and his thankfulness for Robert's willingness to lead us, not only as past president of the of the North Canton Area Chamber of Commerce, but he was also a past president for the North Canton Rotary Club. And folks, may we always remember the almost 3,000 people who lost their lives during the attacks of September 11, 2001 on the United States as we continue to truly build a healthy community and a stronger nation and hopefully a peaceful world in their remembrance. I have a personal friend who is a New York police officer who's now facing retirement due to his illness that he received when he responded to the attacks in 2001. So although they may say 3,000 now, but more may be dying in the future because of that service. Kind of gives me chills when I think about that. So those are my comments tonight. And if you'd like to see any of the proclamations here, I have them for you. And this council, this political body has a lot of things to work on, but hopefully all for the better. You'll work things through. We'll make things happen for our community because they do work in a stronger and better way every day. And I said it before, there isn't a day that doesn't go by in our city administrative offices that we don't resolve an issue for someone or try our best to resolve issues. We do it every day. And I want to, again, reiterate that we are responsive and we have an obligation to be responsive to our citizens and try to help them out in the best way we can. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't. And as I said before, I can't please everybody all the time, but you know what? I'm going to make every effort and continue to do that for the betterment of our community. So President Stroya, thank you for that time.
Thank you, Mayor. Director of Finance, Gina.
No.
Right. Let's go to Ben. Over there. Right.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Just one item from the other side of my duties. On August 29th, we had a sergeant's promotional exam. We had 4 people take that exam. All 4 people passed, and the commission approved those exam results last Friday. So that's officially are eligible. That's it.
Thank you. Let's go to council reports. Ward 1, Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually want to thank Mr. Diorio for him sharing the updates on the flooding. And I know from a number of conversations that I've had with him that these are very thoughtful plans that they're putting into place. And I thank them for not going willy-nilly in doing things, but doing things thoughtfully, especially as it comes to, some of the detention basins you talked about that are in my ward. So thank you for that update. Thank you for engaging an engineer to find a good, appropriate solution. So thank you for sharing that. So also wanted to throw out, I've gotten kind of excited about this, and we don't have Carrie from the chamber here this evening. And I know we're a couple weeks off, and I tried to engage John, and he told me no, but so he's going to be out of town. Okay, so October 8th, they've got the New Berlin Festival, which is just fantastic. I mean, I've tried to convince Matt that we need to wear lederhosen. He's telling me no, but I'm just going to throw out there. They've got, Daryl, I'm looking right at you. They've got a sausage throwing contest. Do you want to do that, or a sausage eating contest? This is an exciting event, another exciting event coming to the city. I'm fired up about it. So. There you go. All right. Well, maybe I'll see you October 8th. So that's all I have to share this evening.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. Ward 2, David.
Thank you, President Stroya. So Rule 37 in public speaks. Times of conversations were intense. Some of them were heated, very spirited, but it was a dialogue and a conversation. Many options were discussed. I honestly don't want my legacy as in my political career and a servant to the residents of North Canton of ever restricting a resident's way of speaking, and they have many that they can choose from. Am I pleased with the results? No, but I accept them as a compromise. We were moving in a direction, not where I wanted to be, but moving in that direction. And I think that's what makes council strong, is that they can have those conversations. In the future, if things are better and things work out well, I will continue to push for a monthly public speak and have the residents know that we are here to listen to them and resolve their issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Ward 3, Stephanie.
Okay. Dave, very well said. I won't repeat that. Ben, thanks for getting me the information this week. I appreciate the research that you're going to do for us and help us along. And thanks to Kathy and Pat for just always being available, and kind of anytime you'll pick up the calls and will answer me. So thank you for that. Patrick, I always appreciate our good conversations. And it's true. Like, if residents call me, I call you immediately, and we get things done really quickly. So I appreciate just the conversations with Dave and Matt. Matt, thank you for just being a really good president and listening and taking the time. And some email exchanges that happened this week. The amount of time that you spent on the phone with some constituents is a lot, and you have a family, and I just appreciate what you're doing for us. And just for the record, I know quite clearly that you knew I was gone last week,
Yes.
as did Daryl, as did Patrick. So again, I guess when we talk about falsities, that was a false statement that was stated earlier that no one knew I was going to be gone. Oddly, I even called you during that week or emailed you why I was gone. So that's it.
Thank you. Ward 4, John.
A lot of things going on in Ward 4. I want to thank Patrick for the help on Rodwin Circle there. Hopefully we got that done. There was a piece of land there that the residents have been taking care of for 50 plus years. We really didn't know it belonged to us, and Well, lo and behold, the nuisance officer got called for bushes overgrowing. Okay, so, we got it handled. Thank you, Patrick, on that. I want to also thank the city. A couple streets in my ward have been paved. They look beautiful. Sunset, Donner, and Glenwood. I wish we could have gone a little bit farther on, well, I think Fair Oaks got done too, a little bit of Fair Oaks. If we could have gone to Park, it would have looked beautiful. You know, the Park Circle there. Also, thank you so much for 10th Street. Not in my ward, but that's another flooding issue, and we took care of that. It looks beautiful, and, you know, it took some time, but it got done. So thank you on that. Spitzer, we've all driven by the old Spitzer, looks beautiful. Hasn't looked that good since, years. So, I'm excited to see what can be done there. You know, we only have 10 feet or so, but, that would be very nice. Matt, thank you. We had that constituent call, and we'll be walking up and down Knoll. I told, Pat about it. And we need to really address that southern, the southern boundary down there. So we'll handle that. During the open speaks tonight, someone referred to us as a friendship club. You know, it sort of chuckled. You know, we're far from being a friendship club. We get a lot of business done. Matt and I, we can have a heated argument, but we still, we take care of the business, you know. I might not agree, you might not agree with me, or what have you, but it goes on. The majority voted, and I'll accept that. But we will revisit it, you know, and stuff at that time. So, but again, I'm proud to be on this council. We got a great team here. And thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Daryl?
A couple things quickly. Many of you may not have seen the press release that was issued by the fire department last week. We had a house fire. I think what's important are two key facts that pertain to an earlier debate that we had. Within the house, there were no working smoke detectors, and the property was a rental. Granted that what that suggests community-wide to our rentals isn't clear, but I suspect that it may be indicative of some other safety issues that will be addressed with the rental registration coming online in January. I should note parenthetically that our in-house IT specialist, our clerk, has been assisting in the software rollout. That is a function that previous clerks were unable to perform. And again, as the administrator indicated this evening, what we have developed is not so much a friendship club, but a working relationship across the various divisions of the city to execute projects. I think that is that really serves our residents well. Just as a caveat, and I apologize if I'm redundant for some of you, but while Patrick has done a good job reviewing some of the city's remedial efforts regarding flooding, I think it's important to bear, he touched upon this a little bit, that both topography and land development patterns may prevent complete resolution of some problems. When you look at the western edge of the city, for example, the grade from basically Lindy Lane west, pretty flat as it rolls into the Zimber. There's no place for water to go. Detention basins, good luck taking somebody's neighborhood out. We have what we have. And I think Patrick is absolutely spot on to require the technical assistance to make sure that what we do is sound from an engineering standpoint and also practical from a financial one. So that's kind of my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, Ben, thank you for being able to do legislation on the fly.
That's
I
cool.
mean,
Yeah.
that is very
Technically not
underappreciated.
legislative.
What,
Technically not
Rules.
legislative.
Well, you
Yeah.
know, I can tell you it's not happening at other council meetings. When I went back and did research on other council meetings, no, that doesn't happen. That's,
Wait 2 weeks.
it's right, absolutely. So that is impressive. Patrick, thank you for the updates on the flood. Gina, thank you for reaching out to everybody for the budget as well. I love the process that you guys are going through to deal with the budget compared to when I first came on. I mean, night and day. It's no one on council can say they don't know what's going on with the budget. And actually no one in the audience can either, with all the public information that we have, the open.gov thing. I mean, it's unmatched. Although I didn't propose them in council rules, I don't believe it's necessary. I'm going to have public availability before. So if anyone wants to meet with me or one of the ward people, if you guys want to do that, it's like office hours. It doesn't need to be part of council rules. So I'm almost always here at 6:15 before the meeting. I'll talk to a constituent. There's many constituents that honestly do not want to come to a meeting. They don't want to speak at the podium. They just don't want to come to meetings. That's a great opportunity to address it. And I encourage you to do ward meetings. I think that was a great way to reach out in the past that is not done. So that's up to you guys, though. I don't think it needs to be a standard. I don't think it needs to be required, but it can certainly help. Every year on Portage Street, the lanterns go up and you can walk that path. And it's very emotional to do it. And then this year, the Weaver family put up a lighted display right across from my house. And you can see that it's about their son that lost his life in 9/11. It's very touching. And there's a lot of people driving up and down and walking around. It's really nice to see everybody, pay tribute in their own way. So I appreciate that. I don't have anything else by support local if we can. We're going to go to the meeting calendar here. Coming up on September 19th, we'll have a committee of the whole. And then September 26th, we will have a regular city council. 12A, can I get a motion and a second to adopt and approve the meetings calendar through December 1st, 2022, which is on the screen here. Do you want me to read those for the record, or is that okay that it's okay? Thank you. So,
I think it's okay. My only comment would be, if you do want to change any of them, you can change any except for December 1st, because that's the mayor's power to change that one, not you guys.
Gotcha, that makes sense. Okay. I move we adopt.
The vote was second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And final, motion to adjourn.
Vote votes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are new rules in that state. You have another vote.